Hello, welcome back to Cellular and Wireless Unmasked. My name is Martin Hevesy, and I'd like to share with you a rather basic concept today. In the US, we use the term cellular, whereas the rest of the world uses mobile. Why do we call our mobile devices in the US cell phones? And where does the term cellular come from? We'll go over that here in just a minute. I also want to talk about what happens when you push the send button on your cell phone, basic call routing from a mobile to a landline and from two mobiles on different mobile networks. So today we'll go over why we call cell phones, and yes, we're going to send it. So let's jump into it. For those of you who didn't sleep through biology class, if you look at biological cells, cells from our body, cells from a plant, you'll see kind of a common theme when you're looking at a cross-section of cells on a microscope. You'll see a cell wall, which defines the size of the cell, with a nucleus. Simple. Now, we call cell phone networks cellular, cell phones, because if you look at a radio telephone network from the top down, you'll see a network of cell phone towers and their general coverage area. So if you look at it on a map, in the simplest terms, a mobile telephone network looks like cells. And for some reason, in the United States, cellular stuck, so we call our cell phones because the networks physically look like biological cells. It's as simple as that. So now that we've gotten through that, let's talk about call routing, and we'll talk about what happens when a mobile user, a cell phone, wants to call a landline. So let's talk about a cell phone call to a landline. Our friend Kevin wants to call his local takeout joint to make sure his food's ready. When Kevin pushes the send button, his phone will link to the local cell phone tower, and it'll go through some checks at the first level of equipment called the BTS, base transceiver system. This is the gear at the base of every cell tower to do the first level call processing. That signal then travels on the backhaul, the circuit that ties all the different cell sites together to the main switching office. What's commonly called MSO, mobile switching office, MTSO, mobile telephone switching office, or MSC, mobile switching center, but really it just goes by the switch. So in this case, he's using Verizon. The Verizon switch does the bulk of the call processing. It says Kevin's allowed to make a mobile call to a landline or cell to land. This is what decides. Then via interconnect, once this switch figures out Kevin wants to call a landline, there's an interconnect circuit to the PSTN, the publicly switched telephone network. It then routes the call to his local taqueria, Chinese hamburger place, and then he connects the call, and that's how a cell phone connects to a landline. And next we'll talk about how two cell phones connect. So let's talk about what happens when our friend Kevin calls his friend Jill. As you recall, when he turns on his cell phone, it does a quick registration, make sure everything's okay. Then he pushes the send button to call his friend Jill. She's on AT&T, he's on Verizon. The same call checks go through. Can he make a call? Yes. Goes through the system, goes through the gear at the base of the cell site called the BTS, base transceiver system. It goes through that gear on the backhaul to the Verizon switch, the MSO, mobile switching office. Verizon switch then says, Kevin wants to make a mobile-to-mobile call, which is probably the most common thing because everyone's got a cell phone these days. So what happens is Verizon says he wants to call Jill. She's on the AT&T network, so I'm going to route this call to AT&T. I'm going to connect them via the interconnect. AT&T then says, okay, I last saw Jill's phone in this area. And for conspiracy theorists, yes, the systems do keep track of where your cell phone is generally. It's not detailed, but it's general. So when he makes that call, it goes through the system to AT&T. This system then has to page the last 2 or 3 cell sites where Jill was to find her phone. It sends a ping out. Hey Jill, you've got a call. Her phone responds. Great. Same checks. Can she receive a call? Yes, everything links up and goes just fine. Now, if the system cannot find Jill's phone, it pings a wider net. It goes from, say, 3 or 4 cell sites to 10 cell sites. If no response, it'll go to 50 cell sites. So that's why the system keeps track of where your device is generally. Again, it's not specific. It doesn't know you're at the coffee shop. It just knows you're in the area. So same thing happens in reverse for Jill's phone to make that link and kind of put everything so Kevin can now talk to Jill. And that's how call routing and calls work mobile to mobile. So there you have it. That's basic call routing. But I wanted to show you one more little particular, way these systems work. When Kevin pushes the send button to reach Jill's phone, all the different checks and registration items that have to take place and the interconnection between mobile provider 1 and mobile provider 2 takes time. It happens very, very quickly through the different backhaul circuits and through the BTS, base transceiver system, each MSO, mobile switching office, or just commonly called a switch. All that happens very, very quickly, but it does take a couple of seconds. So in order not to let Kevin sit there with nothing going on, oftentimes the mobile providers, the cellular providers, will make Kevin's phone ring 1, 2, maybe 3 times before Jill's does. So while all this is happening, it's paging for Jill's phone, it's routing the calls, Kevin's phone will ring 1, 2, or 3 times before Jill's does. And if you want to see that in action, try it in a room where you have one AT&T, one Verizon phone, one Verizon, one T-Mobile phone, 2 different cellular providers. Make a call and see how many times the guy or gal who sends the call, see how many times it rings before the target phone rings. Pretty interesting. A little something. Hey guys, thank you so much for your attention today. Thank you for watching my channel. If you want to learn more about different networks, cellular and wireless, hit the subscribe button. Any questions you have, throw them in the comments section below. I'll do my best to answer them, and we'll have more videos for you shortly. Thank you so much.